Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Hollis Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. I'll call this meeting to order. We will do a roll call from my right.
Greg McPherson.
I am Heather Sullivan.
Brett Markey.
Danielle Bradbury.
Butch Gannett.
And with that, we do have a quorum of members tonight. So welcome. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, everybody. We are gonna go right into, we've got a nice little agenda tonight, and we've got a surprise guest at the end. So welcome. Thank you all for coming out. We're just gonna do really quickly correspondence. Board members have copies of a few items. We've got a nice flyer from the Conservation Commission. They are doing, or they have partnered with, I believe it is SMPDC, Southern Maine Planning, to create Hollis's first open space plan. That is going to be a plan that will help us here in town protect natural areas, farmland, and recreation land. So I know part of it is they are kind of like taking a survey of what open space is existing. And then I believe that they're also soliciting residents' opinions. They are holding a community listening session right here in this room at the town hall on Wednesday, June 18th. And there is also a survey that if folks see this flyer around, there is a QR code that you can read with your phone, and you can take a brief survey. It took me about 4 minutes to take the survey. It's really quick and just asks about how we currently use open spaces in Hollis and how we want to use open spaces in Hollis. So I encourage everyone to go out and make sure that your voice is heard. Then we have a packet, as usual, from the Saco River Corridor Commission. They've been quite busy. And what we have here is a Rules Committee meeting agenda, a few unanimous consent applications that they processed, one of which is in Hollis. This is seeking a permit to construct a secondary deck at 13 Moderation Street. And then there were two applications that are related to Hollis. I'm sorry, one of them is that deck on 13 Moderation, and the other one is an after-the-fact permit to construct a dock, sheds, a concrete pad and pergola, tarp sheds, skateboard ramp, and steps near the high water line at 97 Dennett Road. That's an application that looks as if it's been ongoing for a little while. And as usual, the planning board, if the Saco River Corridor Commission makes their determination based on their focus on protecting the Saco River. And there are times when projects then also come in front of the planning board for approval or not approval, and we will take up any of those as they come. Then we have another communication to code enforcement and us, and that is about permits that were approved on April 29th. There were two permits for Sand Pond Road, and then there is one for 93 Dennett Road. Those were both approved, and then I believe there was a tabled application that I just mentioned. So we do have one of the individuals that was approved on that April 29th meeting joining us later on tonight, and we're going to start. So it's It's not on the agenda, but we are going to start a little bit of new business, assuming we have time after we go through the rest of our agenda. And then we have the approvals as stated. Does anyone have anything that they want to speak about with respect to the Saco River Corridor Commission approvals? Hearing nothing, we will move on and review the minutes from the last meeting. What's that on?
We don't have those yet.
Oh, we don't have the minutes yet? Okay, we will not be reviewing the minutes.
Yeah, being that it was pretty lengthy meeting and I wanted to make sure I captured everything you guys discussed, I didn't include that this time.
No worries, we will do it at our next meeting. Moving on then. I'm just gonna put optional reports in front of the public hearing, so we just get that out of the way. Optional reports are reports from town committees, or our elected leaders or our volunteers coming in and sharing with us anything that's going on with their groups. Do we have anyone that would like to give us an optional report? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to suspend the planning board meeting and open up the public hearing on Talon Estates, which is I don't know if it's permit, application number 2202-4259.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we will vote. Greg, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 The planning board meeting is now suspended and we will move into the public hearing. We have representatives of the Talon Estates project here. Would you mind coming up and giving us the 1-minute overview of the project? And I'll just let folks know we did have a site walk today at the location, which I appreciate everyone who came out to take a look at the property and get some questions answered. And we will further discuss that tonight.
Good evening, James Lowry with BH2M. Have with me Josh Bradstreet with the Hertel Grandchildren Trust, who's the applicant for the project. Thank you all for scheduling the site walk earlier. As you guys are aware, and members of the audience, this is a 14-lot residential subdivision off of Mansion Road. It'll have 24-foot gravel roads throughout, one leg coming down to serve majority of the lots in phase 1, and then a side road called Hawk Lane that will serve 3 additional lots in phase 1 of the overall project. I had emailed and provided some additional information towards the end of last week. Hopefully you all have that. Ultimately, and it's reflected on this plan, it's showing the additional test pits for lots 5, 6, and 7, which are down in here, and lot 11 up here that weren't previously shown when we made our submission. The road names and subdivision name have been incorporated into the plan set, so that's all there. And then we replaced what we had in there was the boundary survey for the full property with an existing conditions plan that incorporates that boundary information, cleans up some of the notes that you guys had asked us to do. So,
Thank you for doing that. I think that we, as we get started with the public comment portion, we do have comments that came in late in the day today, and I was asked to read these. So I'm just going to read this word for word. This is from Dan Yermenian. I always mess that up. Sorry, Dan. who is one of our select board members. However, I believe that he is submitting his comments as an individual resident and member of local snowmobile and ATV clubs, not as a select board member. His email reads, "Dear Planning Board members, I wish I could attend tonight's meeting regarding the proposed Talon Estates subdivision, but unfortunately I am at a kids' sporting event and unable to make it. I also want to make clear that I am submitting these comments solely as an individual resident, trail user, and member of local snowmobile and ATV clubs, and not on behalf of the Select Board or the Town of Hollis. I wanted to comment regarding the existing trail located within the proposed subdivision that runs parallel to the CMP transmission corridor. This is a very well-used snowmobile route known as ITS 89, maintained in the winter by the Hollis Honkers Snowmobile Club. ITS 89 is part of the statewide interconnected trail system where one could ride a snowmobile from Lebanon all the way to Jackman. It is also well used and maintained in the summer by the Hollis Freewheelers ATV Club. This trail serves as the main connection between the Hollis Trail System and the Waterboro Trail System. Most of the trails through Hollis is located within the CMP corridor, but it leaves the corridor and enters this property to bypass a very wet section within the transmission line area. Only a year or two ago, the ATV Club received a state grant and performed over $30,000 worth of maintenance and trail improvements along this stretch. I cannot imagine what the cost would be to relocate this trail into the CMP corridor, or whether doing so would even be feasible. I am very grateful to have been able to use it until now, but I hope some arrangement can be made to preserve continued use of this trail through the development. Ease of recreational trail access is one of the reasons many people choose to live in Hollis. Having this connection is a major asset to the community and something many residents value greatly. Closing off this connection would be a detriment not only to local riders, clubs, and businesses, but also to the character of the area and the recreational opportunities that make Hollis attractive to residents. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Daniel Yermanian, resident. What is it? Yermanian. Yermanian. All right, I can do that. So thank you for sharing your opinion, Dan. We appreciate it, and most of us certainly understand what it's like to have kids' sporting events to go to. I would like to open up the floor to any other residents who would like to come up, and if they have any questions, comments, suggestions. This is the part of a subdivision approval process that we really need the residents in the town to let us know what they are concerned about and, in effect, what they would like to see with respect to a subdivision. So the floor is open to anyone who is interested in speaking up. Please just come up to the lectern, introduce yourself, and we will happily listen to what you have to say.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Of course.
First, can you please email me that note or?
Yeah, I'll have Ashley do that. Do we have someone online? We have someone online who would like to speak up. I think it's our pal, Christy.
You would be right. Hello.
Hi, Christy. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What's up?
I just have a process question.
Mhm.
So when an application is submitted under a trust name, how does the town review unresolved violation language in the zoning ordinance before the application moves forward?
So are you suggesting that the trust has unresolved violations?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, because it is in the name of a trust, it's not very transparent as to the individuals that are included in that trust. how
So
does
we
the
actually
town
have
go
a
about-
representative of the trust here tonight. If you're willing, if you wouldn't mind coming up and just explaining to us the structure, you don't have to get into personal details or anything like that, but I think that it may be helpful for us to understand who the property owner and the developer is. Thank you.
Sure.
My name is Josh Bradstreet. I'm the trustee for the Hertel Grandchildren Trust. The trust owns the asset exclusively and is its own legal entity. It's not a business. It's not a grantor trust, which effectively is owned by an individual. As far as the structure goes, that's pretty much all there is. There's a trustee and then there's beneficiaries. The trust is its own legal thing. So I don't know if that helps or not.
Christy, does that help you understand? So trusts, I'm quite familiar. I worked with lawyers my whole career, so I'm quite familiar with with what a trust is and,
Sure.
and what it's designed to do. And actually am was a participant of a grandchildren's trust as
Okay.
well, or beneficiary of a grandchildren's trust
Yep.
as well. So quite familiar with the style. It's a fairly common way of protecting assets or ensuring that assets are protected after someone, well, before and after, I guess, someone passes away. So does that help, Christy? Trusts are independent legal entities.
Sure, and I understand that, but then my question is, who is going to be handling this project then? So there has to be an individual that is submitting paperwork and making sure things are done. So who would that individual be, and how can we ensure that that person doesn't have any kind of violation open with the town?
That person would be me as trustee. I mean, I speak for and sign for the trust. So the application and et cetera would be under the trust name with my signature.
Christy, is that?
Yeah, sorry, every time I press unmute, it takes like a few
Oh, no
seconds to
worries. No,
actually
no,
go
that's
through.
okay. Don't worry
But
about
yes,
it.
No, thank you so much for that explanation. Thank you.
So and I agree, you are signing the application as the property owner. The trust itself is the property owner. So a trustee has fiduciary duty to the trust. So they have responsibilities to protect the financial investments
Yeah.
that a trust makes.
Financial assets,
Yep.
preserve and protect. Yep.
And I have not been informed by anyone at the town that the Grandchildren's Trust has any violations or does the Grandchildren's Trust have any other development in Hollis?
It does not.
Okay, so this is the first project that the trust has.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. And of course, we know that the trust hired BH2M to represent them and in this and other proceedings, I believe with the state of Maine, with the Army Corps of Engineers. That is what BH2M, that's what their role is. here.
That is correct.
Great, thank you. And we do have on file, documentation that BH2M is acting as the agent for the trust. So I think that's the other layer of who is responsible would be, in BH2M, you guys are an engineering firm, right? Engineering and surveying. Fantastic. And you will be involved in the project all the way through, or do you jump out after the land is built and then somebody else takes over for the actual homes? Or are you guys involved in that?
Well, as we talked about at the site walk, home construction is not part of, unlike a builder LLC that would come in, the Grandchildren Trust is not, going to actively build homes or does not foresee themselves actively building homes. So they would be simply selling off the lots as an income source for the trust, over the course of the next few years.
Would people who buy the lots be able to bring their own builder in, or will there be
Yeah.
a builder available?
I'm not aware of a builder being
Okay.
available. So they
Okay.
would own the lot in fee and be able to do what they wish within, the
Within what gets approved.
Right, exactly. In the town rules and things like that.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Christy, did you have any other comment?
No, but thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate that.
Always. Do we have anyone in the room that would like to speak?
Hey everybody, good evening. My name is Emily Brooks. I live at 43 Mansion Road. Thank you all for coming out for the site walk, and to start off tonight, thank you also for being on the planning board. It's not easy, so I appreciate everything you guys do. I have a few points to go over, pretty much the same thing I said the last time I was here, so I'm just gonna reiterate again what my concerns are. It was nice to walk out there today with everybody. I think you all got a feel for what that land is like. It's been like that for a long time. It's pretty wild. It's pretty cool to spend time in. The stream is incredible. And talking about it like it's just a financial asset is kind of hard for me because there's a lot that goes into it that is much more than money, right? So I grew up in Hollis. My parents moved here in 1983, so I've been around for a little while. I've watched a lot of development come through, and I just really wanted to open tonight by saying that I'm not opposed to growth. I think bringing new families into Hollis is really important, and I think if this particular piece of land was being split into 5 10-acre lots, I wouldn't be here, and I would have zero problem with that. Giving families land that is enough to raise livestock or have a small family farm or keep it wild if they want to and not have to worry about their neighbors' chickens crossing a property line, digging into their garden, which we see argued about sometimes, is really nice. And I feel like Hollis is really known for its ruralness, and changing the neighborhood out there off Deerwander Road and off Mansion Road would be significant with this many houses. 14 houses is a lot, and this is just phase 1. So there would be more coming potentially after that, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. Also, we all were out there tonight. We saw how narrow that road is. It's a dirt road. The way that they paved it at the end is really funky, the way it comes out onto Deerwander Road, and it's got 2 really steep ditches on both sides. So I can promise you that if you try to make that turn with a UPS truck coming out, you're not going to make it. So you have to stop in Deerwander Road and let the truck go before you can pull in. And again, with the increased traffic, increased houses, increased development, that's just going to get much worse. And I think you'd also be looking at either paving more of Mansion Road or redeveloping the end of it where it ends into Deerwander again, because it's just not going to support that type of traffic. Deerwander Road itself is pretty rough as far as traffic goes, but that's probably not for tonight's discussion. I am interested in knowing more, and I'd be happy to talk with some of you about this afterwards around what sorts of studies were done and what sort of information we have around whether or not that land can actually support that many houses and that many septic systems and that many drilled wells. It's also a lot for that area. We've already seen some issues with water in the area. We've had drastic changes to our water since we've been living in our house.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So we dug a well. I have horses on my property. We dug a well for them about 5 years ago, and the water flow has been fine, but whatever is in the water changed. So like it got this really weird sheen to it. It almost looked like it had oil in it. I had to put in a whole filter system just for the barn. And that happened after we had been pumping water out of the well for about 2 years. So
Was that a dug well or
it was a dug well?
Not a drilled
Yeah.
well?
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Although our drilled well at the house, I am also going to test because that has recently changed as well. And I think it's just iron content. But I'm curious to see what exactly happened and compare the results to when we first built it. Because the water coming out of the tub faucet looks different than it did at the beginning. So something changed down there. I don't think it's anything dangerous, but it's just curious that over time things change. And when you start drilling this many wells and pumping water, and no matter how you put that road in or how you put culverts in, it's going to change the ecosystem out there. And you can be as careful as you want to be, but it's going to be different. And I just want to make sure that we are being really thoughtful and mindful about this as we go through it, because it's not something you can take back. Like that land has been wild for however many years it's been out there. Once it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't come back for like 50 to 100 years, right? Like it's a long time. So as we make these decisions as a town, I think it's important to think about, you know, where we want to be in 10, 20, 30 years and what we want it to look like. Also, probably Christy was going down this road too, but just to say we've had issues with developments in the town. So I won't go into the details, but we probably beat that horse to death. But just want to make sure we're also careful with who's building and who's planning and who's, you know, if you sell 14 lots and then you have 14 different builders, right? That's a lot to manage and keep track of as far as code enforcement goes. And the folks across the street from us are doing a fantastic job building this really cool little house with the rounded front. Like their design is really interesting. And they're doing it themselves, which I am super impressed with. But it's taking a little bit of time. And so if we have all of these like various projects in various states, the amount of construction trucks coming in and out of the road, the impact to the woods out there, depending on when all these houses get built, I think are all things we should take into consideration as well. And then just the overall disruption to the ecosystem, right? Just to make sure that we're really thinking about that. And again, that we're being mindful about what this is going to do for the future. And if there is any way, from my perspective, my ask would be to like make bigger lots, smaller lots for sale, smaller number of lots for sale, but bigger pieces. Because if you look at this to the gentleman's point earlier with the email on the snowmobile trail, like if you had lots 4, 5, 6, and 7, if that was one lot, you wouldn't have any issue with that snowmobile trail. Like if I was that landowner, you could cut through that line right there and I wouldn't even really notice it based on the size of the rest of my lot. But the fact that it's going to cut through lots 5 and 6, I probably would have if I bought one of those lots, and I would not want that kind of noise right in my backyard. So just something to think about. I think that's all I have. But thank you guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for being here. It's important work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that, so should we, let's collect all comment, and then I do think that it would be helpful if we go through and share what reports have been, you know, what reports we have here already, and the reports that we've asked for additional, if we have any of those, and whether or not there may be something else that we need to ask for that we don't have. So do we have anyone else who is speaking about the subdivision? Well, a man who needs no introduction.
I do. It's been too long.
Welcome back, Paul.
I'm Paul
It's nice to
Mattor.
see
It's
you
been
in
a
the
number of years
audience.
since I sat on the other side of this podium.
Lectern.
He's right. So I'll ask everybody to please turn to page or chart 12, table 12.2G in their subdivision regulations, which I believe is on page 43-ish.
Can you say that again, Paul?
12.2.3, page 43 should be in your subdivision regulations, is the table that defines the design standards that this should be designed to. And I'd like to point out a number of things to you. You can make of them what you will. There are a number of different grades of road depending on traffic volume. And this is squarely a medium volume street. It's got more than 8 lots, which is the low volume. And if you read down through the design criteria for a medium volume street, you'll notice that the intersection angle, these are in no particular order, the intersection angle of the road with Mansion Road is to be 90 degrees. And there's no exception. That's the minimum angle. And you can see that the lower volume street does have a lower minimum angle. And I would argue that that is a very important standard to keep to, because if you've ever tried to turn with a stiff neck in a road, you can't see the cars coming at you from an angle that's skewed. And it's a very dangerous situation because people get in the habit of just zooming through it. And there's some other examples of driveways further down Mansion Road where people do that. And I've had near-on collisions with people just coming down these skewed angles. So I would suggest that the design of the angle and the design of Lot 1 needs to be revisited before anybody moves on with this. Continue looking at that chart. There's also down maybe on the second page of the chart or somewhere down toward the bottom, there is an item road pavement. And this is supposed to be they planning on making it a gravel road. And I would suggest that the minimum of 3 inches of road pavement for a medium volume street would be a requirement that this has to be paved.
Oh, is that not the minimum crushed? Is that the minimum?
Keep going.
That's the hot.
Hot bituminous pavement, 3 inches, and it gives you the 2 lifts. And that also makes a lot of sense because there's going to be a lot of traffic on this road. And if, as someone who I live far further down Mansion Road, no, not near this development, but Mansion Road needs to be regraded 3-4 times a year. The town is constantly outgrading it because of the traffic on it, and this is going to be, there will be traffic on this road that is going to cause the homeowners association to constantly having to be regrading it and a constant nuisance for them. And so out of respect to these future homeowners and residents of Hollis and following out of respect for the subdivision regulations, I would suggest that there's no reason for the planning board to offer a waiver on either of these two things. They're both important for proper road design. So with that, we noticed that the road leading to this development, Mansion Road, is also a gravel road. And we have a fresh example of the town requiring on Totem Pines on Nathan Smith Road, the developer to bring the leading road up to this road, because it doesn't make any sense to have a conforming road coming off of a non-conforming road for the density of development that's being proposed here. So citing the Totem Pines Nathan Smith example, I would suggest that the developer is also responsible for the financial burden and management or whatever is required of them to bring Mansion Road leading up to this up to a similar standard. I don't think you could read into it that the entirety of Mansion Road needs to be brought up to that standard. But at some point, Mansion Road's going to need to be paved. I hate that idea because it has always been this beautiful, lonely gravel road, and eventually it's going to get all paved and developed.
Yeah, traffic takes its toll on the roads for sure. I think there's a reference in here somewhere that any subdivision that comes out on a dirt road, the dirt road will have to be brought up to standards and paved to the entrance of the.
I can give you citations on all these things.
Yeah.
I'll write a follow-up letter that gives you leads you to these.
Yeah, because the town would have to grade the road even more. I know it's a small portion, but I don't think the town should be responsible to grade it even more. Like, obviously not the development, but Mansion Road. Because if that section gets that bad, I mean, if people use the other way, I mean, we can't do anything about that, but at least bringing it up, I don't see a problem with that.
Right.
Danielle, let's let public talk and then we'll talk. It's just a.
But that's correct, yes. And also looking at Totem Pines and our lesson with that, not to beat on that development, but there were some learning lessons from that. These hammerhead turnarounds with lots coming off of them creates a horrible situation for the snowplows, for people understanding that this is not a driveway, this is a turnaround. And Totem Pines, there's actually a little 50 by 50 section of the hammerhead with a driveway coming straight off the end of it. And that is not a good way to lead to a house lot. It's because the hammerhead is for snow plowing. And at the end of the hammerhead, each of those dead ends of the hammerhead is where you push the snow. So you have to be very careful with your design about where the driveways are coming off of a hammerhead. And so if it gets this far, I would suggest that you see specific driveway designs for how these lots lots are to be accessed off the hammerheads, so that
Or
doesn't.
is it a cul-de-sac?
We used to do cul-de-sacs, and you could do a cul-de-sac. I think the town, the road commissioner has expressed a preference for hammerhead turnarounds, but that's always, cul-de-sacs are done, and they have their own merits for sure.
Paul, if we get to this point and we wanted to make a condition of approval, being no driveways off that section of the hammerhead, do you think that is enough? Or do you think that we need to see actual,
I would
the
ask-
problem is that we don't have buyers for the property and.
But you could show designs. They could say that this is where it goes.
Okay.
You can, there's no problem showing where the access is supposed to come off of as part of the subdivision plan.
I thought there was a stipulation that there were no driveways off the hammerhead.
It could be, I couldn't find that. I did a brief
It's
search.
something we did verbally at the last meeting.
Yeah, so that could be, you certainly have every authority to guide the design of this and ask for design changes based on these
Right.
things. That's your role as the planning board, to
And
say
you-
there's a specific problem here and we need to fix it, we need to design around it.
You mentioned the 90-degree angle of street intersection. That is, you're thinking of that as the turnoff from Mansion Road, correct?
That's the Mansion Road intersection where it comes in at a skewed angle,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Station zero.
Okay. Excellent. Continue.
Future phases and lot numbering. This is by my count, a 16-lot subdivision, not a 14,
How do you see that?
because we have a lot to be conveyed to abutters between lots 11 and 10. There's a lot there that's clearly a lot. It's buildable. It's got adequate road frontage, and to my eye, it's got enough land area, although that's not cited. Well, it is. It's 141,000 square feet. So it's clearly in excess of the 80,000 minimum. So that's clearly a lot. It's just, there's intent of disposition of it, but it's a lot. And the buyer could go and put a house on it, unless you put a restriction on that, or they put a restriction on it in the application process. That's a lot. And the remaining land is also a lot. Just because it's not planned to be built on or sold on, it's a divided lot from this development. We went over this very in great detail in Van Hertel's subdivision across the street when he put in a cluster subdivision right on the intersection of Mansion Road and Deerwander Road. There was remaining land and remaining developable land. There were 2 or 3 additional lots that were created that initially didn't have numbers on them, and we went around and around, and I believe we got numbers on those lots. And every lot is numbered in a subdivision. It's not dependent on the developer's intent of disposition of the lots. It has to do with the division, and also so that the tax assessor has a reference and that there's a legal reference to the lot.
Very good point.
If somebody's paying taxes on it.
It's a lot, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter what you plan on doing with it. It could be undevelopable wetland, but if you divide it off and create it, then it's a lot. It's not a function of its development potential. And with that, there are stipulations in the subdivision regulations for planning of future phases. So this remaining land of Hertel Grandchildren Trust, the 477,000 square foot lot at the bottom of in the center of the bottom center of the plan, can support X number of lots. And if that's a future phase, then the demands of that lot in, say, something like a traffic study needs to be accounted for. You can't just ignore that, because that's intended to be a phase 2. So you need to design whatever it is, the roads coming in, with that in mind, that that's ultimately going to be developed, or specifically stipulate that it's never to be developed. But you have to account for it one way or the other. You either have to say it's going to be developed with this number of lots, here's the design, and the subdivision regulations are also allow for or provide for planning of future phases and making sure that this disclosed what these future phases are, what the development potential is, and what the impacts are. And so please look at that. Ask them to net out how many lots they intend to develop on that. And it's curious to me as to why that's not being developed now, why they wouldn't just divide that up now if there is a 14 lot limit that they're trying to keep to because of some other requirement. And that by developing that now, by saying, oh, there's another additional 3, 4, 5 lots available there, then that triggers something. So I'd be mindful of that. And also lot 13 is a double lot. And the subdivision regulations are clear that if you have a lot that could potentially be divided in the future, much like this 477,000 square foot remaining land, lot 13, unless there is some requirement one way or the other, unless they put a stipulation saying that it can't be developed, then there's a potential that could be split in the future or treated as a double lot. So that needs to be addressed, that double lot in the planning, and they need to be clear about what any restrictions on that are. So with that, my only final concern is that I don't see a planner in the room, and I don't see a planner I would desperately ask you all to please get Southern Maine Planning Development Corporation, get a planner, get someone who does this all the time involved in this. And, you know, with all respect to all of you, it's been some number of 2, 3 years since I've left the board, and there has not been a subdivision application since then. So some of you may have been Two of you have the most recent memory of subdivision applications, and I'm sure it's Rusty. Greg, you're probably more on the game because that's your business. But please get somebody right from the gate. Do not give sketch plan approval to this without having a professional planner look this over, especially with all of these things that I've cited, and I'm sure that there are more. This was my brainstorming in about 20 minutes between the site walk and here.
So just to speak to that, we have to get different approvals now in order to get a planner involved. So I just
Great.
got the approval. So we have sent this over to Southern Maine Planning. I do expect, I've asked for their review and the normal report that they usually provide that helps us understand what we may not be seeing as we're looking at it day to day.
Okay.
But yeah, it just took a little bit longer to get that.
Great.
Okay.
That's comforting. Thank
Yeah.
you. And please don't take any action until you, out of fairness to the planner, don't move ahead without their. And on the final note, I know it's probably going to come back as everybody expects it to, but I would also please have an attorney look at the trust structure. Rather than just go it alone and guess that the way this trust is structured, the way the financing of the project is done, et cetera, that it doesn't somehow violate our restriction against a developer in violation being involved. I understand there's a trust. I understand what trusts are and all of that, but I also understand a lot of history about this town. I've been through it. I've spent 18 years on the planning board. And so I've been working with, I've been holding the town's hand on many, many violations and advising them on how to address them. And I know what happens. I know how things get wrapped around the axle. So please be vigilant and check everything. So there we go. That's a start.
That's awesome.
I'll follow up with my notes and my citations to give you some advice on this.
You're so missed, Paul.
So
You are so missed. Thank you, of course, for coming in and sharing your knowledge, your 18 years of experience on the planning board with us. It is
thank you.
so very helpful. I very much appreciate it. As you know, we like to make ourselves available to members of the public, and we welcome your and anyone's comments and thoughts and past experiences on things of this nature. So I really very much appreciate it. It was great to see you too.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to share with us their thoughts on this potential subdivision? Going once. All right. So sorry for interrupting you earlier. I think that hearing no additional public comment, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion of this, of today's session and go back into the regular planning board meeting where we can discuss with the developer and the engineer some of the things that we heard and what our next steps are going to be.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All right, Greg, how do you vote?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we have now closed the public hearing portion. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to speak as a member of the public?
No, I'm sorry. I was assuming that I was intended to come back up.
Yeah.
My
yes.
apologies.
No, you're right where you need to be. So we have closed the public hearing portion of this meeting, and we are now back into regular planning board. And I welcome for fellow planning board members to share what you're thinking, and let's kind of dig into it and see what we need to do next.
I want to refresh everybody's memory of where we're at in this process. So everybody's 100% on the same page?
Yeah, so we are right now at the preliminary plan review for a major subdivision. Major subdivisions have, the state law restricts us to having 3 separate pieces of the process. One is the sketch plan, which we did last summer with the developer. And that sketch plan is a more informal discussion over what the potential subdivision might look like. If we see anything at that time that gives us pause, looking for different options for structuring the development. And that is also the first time that abutters are notified of the potential that a subdivision is, that there's looking to develop land into a subdivision. We went through that, like I said, it was almost a year ago now. And as part of that process, at that time, this property extended into Waterboro as well as in Hollis. And so we did do a meeting with the planning board. So it wasn't a 2-board meeting. It was a meeting with town officials. And I was at that meeting. And we went back to the developer and made a suggestion that maybe they wanted to change they wanted to sell off the piece of the land that was in Waterboro so that there wasn't 2 municipalities making decisions about potential subdivision, which they went ahead and did. And now we are looking at a subdivision that abuts another town, but it no longer crosses into another town. When a subdivision abuts another town, there's an expectation, or our ordinances say that we notify the other town of any public hearings, site walk visits, and regular planning board meetings. And Ashley, we have done that with respect to today's site walk and today's public hearing. We also confirmed with the planning board secretary and planner for Waterboro that the names of the individuals that own property that also abut this land that are located in Waterboro. So this is kind of unique for us in that not only do we have abutters that are located within the town of Hollis, but there are also abutters that are located in the town of Waterboro, and we don't have access. I mean, look, I spent a lot of time last night trying to figure out and make sure that all abutters were properly notified, and I am this is not my job, and I had a very tough time. Just like I was literally gluing like tax maps together to try to figure out where, all these people, and I've got all these lists, and of course the administrative assistant for Waterboro has also worked with us, and she was able to, come back in a very short order and provide us with a list of all of the abutters. And our list, Ashley had confirmed that we do have one person that we are going to reach out to directly, because that is Waterboro, on the Waterboro side, but did not show up in our creation of the abutters list, which was I think that our code enforcement office did a 500-foot radius around the property and identified all the abutters through that. But it does look as if we may have missed one on the Waterboro side. This project will not go in front of Waterboro Planning Board, but we of course welcome our fellow planning board members from an adjacent town to share with us their opinion as well. So that takes care of abutters, and that takes care of abutters, I guess. So process. So we are now, sorry, that was sketch plan. We are now at preliminary plan. Preliminary plan is a time-limited process that unless the developer agrees to extend the period of time, I believe we have 30 to 60 days to develop our findings of facts after today's public hearing. And this gives us the opportunity to discuss what conditions of approval we might be looking for on a final plan. It is also an opportunity for us to do things like Paul mentioned, and if we want to see a different road structure, or if we want to see the developer improve roadways, I think that this is the appropriate time for us to. This is where the sausage gets made, I guess is the right way to say it. We want to address and find potential issues now, so that it isn't, we do have a third step. It's the final plan review. I would, in my opinion, final plan review, we are not required to do another public hearing. We can choose to, but I think this is the point in time where we want to be very thoughtful and very thorough in our assessment of what we think we need to see from this potential subdivision.
It's my position that we should, now that SMPC has been brought to attention to this, that we wait for their review prior to spending any further time on this, just because I'd like to see their review before we do anything amongst the board.
Would you suggest that we bring to their attention the concerns that were raised by public to SPDMC?
Yes, I will. I do. Yes, I mean, they'll go and watch our meetings, and I've provided them with a list of meetings that we discussed this project, so that they can go back. I will also say, I think that it does at this point make sense for us to ask the town manager for attorney review of the trust. So I'm comfortable with that. Is that something that the board would like to see? One thing I think would be helpful, we heard from a member of the public wanting to know what reports and what studies have been done to date. So it would be helpful if you might just kind of run through the different studies that you've already had and ones that you have planned.
Yes, we've done wetland delineation and stream assessment, vernal pool assessment. Off the cuff here, traffic. We did a traffic assessment, both at where the project comes out onto Mansion Road and the intersection of Mansion and Deerwander. We discussed at the, we've done investigations for septic test pits. We had a discussion at the last meeting that the density was a lower density, more square feet per lot than what you all, and not being over a significant sand and gravel aquifer, that a hydrogeologic assessment wasn't required by the ordinance. So they are the studies that I can think of right off the cuff. I mean, anything that we had, with the exception of the vernal pool assessment that was just completed this spring, was included in our application material that was done, I think back in March or early April.
You also had a wetland delineation.
Correct. Yep. And that was part of our application.
The vernal pool assessment, is that something we haven't seen that? Is that, it's not included in our packet, correct?
Can't remember if I had provided that. You may not have seen that yet.
Could we see
None
it?
of the vernal pools came out as significant per the DEP standards. We have added, as part of the updates to the preliminary plan, we have shown those areas on the plan, but none of them came back as significant.
You've shown the wetlands, but
Our newest plan does have the vernal pools.
it has
on
the
them as
vernal
well.
pools. I didn't.
They're small, so they're harder to see, but there's one right up here in that location.
Which
that
is where you're
little-
going to, that's where you're going to transit into that lot, right?
Where we're gonna cross is down below that.
And Jay,
So,
and that vernal pool study was only done so late in the game because it's required between certain dates, correct?
exactly, that's limited to
Spring.
whenever it is in April and early May to be able to do. It wasn't done by the initial wetland consultant that was hired, but DH2M has added that service, and our new wetland delineator, vernal pool assessor, did that after he started. So I can provide that to Ashley right off.
I've got one
Good, Butch, yeah,
question.
please do.
There's been some talk about the Snowmobile ATV trail. It doesn't encumber into the property a great deal, and I'm wondering if you couldn't restructure that section and make a corridor or give an easement for that trail where it's situated, and, adjust those lots a little bit to where that trail wouldn't be incumbent upon by the subdivision.
Would it make sense for that to become open space, maybe?
So, we first learned about that tonight at the site walk. There was nothing in our research of doing the boundary survey that indicated there was anything recorded. I'm going to go back and coordinate with our surveyors and double check that. I don't know perhaps what may have been put in place when that was done. I presume the Snowmobile Club may have had some kind of agreement with a landowner, potentially a previous landowner. So I'm gonna do a little research on that, and we'll coordinate with Josh and the trust on how they would want to proceed with that.
Well, that trail just barely gets into the building envelope of those
Right.
two lots, so
Right.
I would think it wouldn't be that difficult to make some adjustments and leave that land alone.
We also, one of our select board members who I read his comments, he may know the answer to some of those questions. So I encourage you to reach out to Dan as well. So, we did hear some comments about a couple of pieces. Oh, I'm sorry, Butch, did you have Did you have additional
No, that's
comments?
good.
Okay. So I am, Paul brought up a good point about the two parcels in the subdivision that aren't identified as part of the subdivision. Is there a reason for that?
There are exceptions in both the state subdivision law and the main DEP site location of development law that pertain to exceptions to a lot being considered a subdivision.
Mhm.
One of which is a transfer to an abutter, which this piece is. Another, with remaining land, that property is not going to be offered for sale or lease to the general public, which is also part of the
But
criteria.
I thought you told us last time it was a for future development.
It is, but not at this point in time. The remaining land down here will not be offered for sale or lease to the general public. When we come back to phase two, that of course is changing or will be changing at that point in time. And those lots would be numbered based on however, your assessor would like us to number them.
And then they would be for sale to the general public.
Right, exactly. But
And
for
then it's
right
too
now.
it's too late to change the road at that point. If something.
Correct. So that's, like anything, if they come in and have that right-of-way established, build the road, then there's a risk encumbered in that those lots would be approved, or some form of those lots would be approved. It may not look exactly like we had shown in our overall concept plan that we included in the application, but some measure of additional lots. We wanted to be transparent about that with the town. So, at this point, those lots, based on what we learned through this process, may look different than what we've got on paper now. So, and ultimately, this piece down here, the magic number of 14 lots, and it's not, not special to Hollis or any other town, is based on the state's site location of development. They require anything more than 15 or more lots on 30 acres within a 5-year period to go through the site location of development process. So it's very common for people who are subdividing land to stay below those thresholds.
There's two additional lots that were mentioned that could both be subdivided.
They could be.
Somebody brought up lot 13, but lot 11's 195.
Right.
So there's actually 15 lots in there.
But this is how we are proposing to configure lot 11.
So you would have a covenant on that lot that it could never be divided?
Well, ultimately, because it's part of a subdivision, the subdivision plan gets approved and recorded. That would have to come back in front of the planning board to alter those property lines because it's part of the subdivision.
Right.
We certainly could add a note saying lot 11, lot 13 cannot be further subdivided.
And when you say that lot or the empty space there at I'll call it mile marker. That's not right, but on the right there, just between 11 and 10.
Right.
That is sold to the abutter, which is the Constance Hurdle.
Correct.
So he's selling it to himself?
No. The Grandchildren Trust will convey this portion of their property.
You can understand my confusion.
Yeah, well, certainly.
Okay.
But the Grandchildren Trust will convey this portion to the abutting lot over in Waterboro.
And who owns the abutting lot in Waterboro?
Van Hertel Senior and Constance Hertel.
Interesting.
So again, but
Yeah.
A note could be added to the plan that until potentially phase two, whatever you all were to stipulate the protection of that lot from being built on. I can assure you that the intent is to only sell the 14 that we show here. 13, lot 13 is unique because the stream comes up through here. The gross area is large, but if you notice, the building window is really right in this area. And a lot of that is due to the 75-foot stream setbacks. So ultimately, other than putting the road up through here, you wouldn't, I don't think that you even have a building window right up in this area. If you do have one, it's very small.
The thing of it is, there's a potential for 3 additional lots out of this 14, or out of this, what's being presented. Plus, if there were 2 or 3 lots built on another, now you're talking maybe 5 lots additional. And if the traffic studies and so forth were on the upper limits, these additional 5 lots could push it into something different.
So
it's just,
yep.
So it is
there's the
important, yeah.
possibility that further development here could be denied because the road wasn't proper to start with. So it's something that somebody ought to give some consideration to here at the start.
And we will, but another important factor to keep in mind is that the project in front of you for review is the 14 proposed lots, or is the plan that we have here.
That is correct.
I understand the
But
consideration.
there is additional property in there that could be
Right.
developed in the future.
And I would also counter that there could potentially be changes to the ordinance that would cause these lots to, maybe there's a push in town 5 years from now, and the 80,000 square foot limit is a 40,000 square foot limit, which
State do that
could,
to us.
alter the overall phase 2 plan. So
More of a reason to get the road right, though.
certainly. And I'm gonna do a little more investigation
Yeah.
on those road standards. I thought there was a footnote or a caveat, but I'll take a closer look there. I know the paving of Mansion Road was brought up at the sketch process. That is something that we somewhat anticipated getting involved with and having more of a conversation with your Department of Public Works on how, if that was an approach that the planning board wanted us to take, how we would, best, effectively make that happen.
We're talking about the paving stuff, correct?
Paving, I was specifically talking about the paving on Mansion Road.
Okay. Obviously, I believe SMPDC is going to work out the nuts and bolts of that and probably explain why you're gonna end up paving. But in the past, it's been required, and in the past, it's worked out. But actually, I believe it was you guys that came in front of us 5 years ago and ended up having to pave the better part of a quarter mile. The developer had to pave a better part of a quarter mile. So I know you're not
Off-site?
surprised. Was that
You mean an off-site or within the project?
off? So the road leading up
Yep,
to
right.
the subdivision.
Yep,
So like I
that's what
said,
I
I know
thought.
you guys have dealt with that before, and I'm sure
Yep.
you'll follow the rules as they're laid out. So I think SMPDC will work out that stuff. That's again, I don't want to say.
We have recommendations.
Yeah, at the very least, we'll have recommendations. And
That's
it's,
something I specifically asked.
right, and it's gone through and worked itself out correctly in the past. And it's all documented, so I'm not too worried about them figuring that out. And it's above, I don't want to say above our pay grade, but as to determining which part of Deer Wonder gets paved, or excuse me, Mansion gets paved, how much of it gets paved, again, respectfully, kind of above our pay grade to determine that. That's what legal and SMPDC and the attorney will sort out with the developer. I had a question about, we talked about fire suppression. Was that on anything yet? I don't know if I'm putting the cart before the horse, but fire suppression and sprinklers in all the houses, stuff like that. You guys crossed that bridge or at least mentioned it somewhere?
We have not, again, anticipating, similar with Public Works, anticipating
Okay.
some back and forth with the fire chief to understand where, where the applicant is not proposing to build these homes, which is different than a lot of other developments that you get now.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. In the
we'd want to
past,
be
I
a little
just-
more mindful of requiring something on a future landowner that, you know, may be problematic in the future.
Yeah, in the past, we've just you guys put it on the plans, the final plans.
Well, these guys aren't doing that.
They still have to submit a file.
Yeah, no, you're
So,
right. Yeah.
don't, again, that'll all get worked out in the wash, I assume. But it's just stuff to put on, put on your list. That's all I really had was the paving stuff, just to at least touch on it, and then fire suppression and, letter from the fire chief. That's what we've seen in all the bigger ones in the past. So I'm appeased for now.
I do have a couple of questions. So I want to make sure I just fully understand the road, roads within the subdivision. So Hawk Lane will actually go into and Hammerhead within that remaining land of Hertel Grandchildren Trust, correct?
Correct.
I mean, so that does kind of like give more of an impression that at some point will be, that phase 2 would be imminent. We heard from one resident about the subdivision road, the 90-degree, and there's some, in the subdivision regulations, there are some road standards that I think that is, I think it's important that we do address. I think it's section 12, 12 point, sorry, 12.3, or so it would be helpful to maybe ensure, and I think SMPDC could probably help us with this, to ensure that the plans here do meet these requirements. I'm not sure that I have the right level of knowledge to be able to make the determination on whether or not a medium volume, which this is going to be a medium volume subdivision, whether or not we have the right road structures, right? Street design standards have been met. So it would be helpful if you guys could maybe go through that and make sure that your plan does meet with the medium volume Hollis street design standards in table 12.2. G.
The only thing that I saw was close was there's a grade that's like 5.86% and the limit's 6. So I think everything else was looking pretty good.
Okay, great.
But, except for the pavement question.
Yeah, I think paving, in our standards, there is an expectation that the road is paved. And we know that we've also got Mansion Road that is going to require some level of improvement, some level of paving, bringing it up to town standards. So maybe getting that incorporated into the preliminary plan for the final plan. Is the intent that it would be a homeowners association that would address the ongoing maintenance of the road?
Yes, either through a formal HOA or a road maintenance agreement of the homeowners.
Do we have
or lot owners?
I've only really seen the HOAs. So is there anything, so like we spent a lot of time today on the site walk talking about the culverts. Would that maintenance of that also be a part of whatever agreement it is? Does that kind of come, so if there was some kind of a
Typically it does.
issue, okay.
Typically the drainage infrastructure is part of that.
All right, let me see what else I got here. Does anyone else have something that caught their attention? I think it would be beneficial to see where, in the location where the hammerhead is, I would like to see where the driveway envelope could, the driveway might potentially be for those
Yep.
lots.
We had touched on that
We
a
talked
little
about it
bit
last
last
time, yeah.
time. I think, I'm not sure if there was a full consensus of the board, but there was some opinions that on the long stretch over here, that driveways could come off, but definitely not the end or the turnaround. So that's, you know, again, we can propose something on the next plan if there's, you know, bring it up as a point of conversation, you know, we can do that.
That would be great. You know, it may be something that we want to, it may be something that we want to put in as a condition of approval, that the driveway is our only place, you know, something that a potential buyer of the property is aware of before they purchase the property, because it's included as part of the plan.
Certainly.
Yeah, it would be great if you guys could kind of take that discussion of that snowmobile trail and maybe try to come up with a unique or a way of kind of protecting that. I think, you know, potentially looking at the way that Eagle Drive comes off of Mansion Road, because that certainly doesn't look like a 90-degree angle to me. And that if there's a way to, you know, if there's a way to reconfigure this in some kind of way to get us closer to that 90-degree angle, I think that would be helpful.
We'll look at that. I know we simply followed the access easement that was existing, but I'll take a closer look at that.
That would be great.
Especially with the number of vehicles that, you know, we're going to be seeing there, that's going to sticky.
That is all I have. I would like to, I would like to better understand, and maybe you could just point me to statute or rules around the 15 lots. You have to go through a different process, or I would assume more expensive process.
From a town's perspective, once you get over 3 lots, it's a subdivision.
Yes.
It's simply the state process that deals with that. I'm happy to share that.
I just want to
that
better
criteria.
understand.
Certainly.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yep.
I was not aware of. You know, I think I've said before, this is the largest subdivision that I've had in front of me. So it is. Sometimes I just find those things interesting. I know, it's crazy. I know.
Well, they're operating within parameters that they're allowed to by going with 14.
Mm-hmm.
And when they originally came in with 3 phases, which they can do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all considered separately. So I don't see that we have a lot that we can do in those areas. They're abiding by state laws and what they're doing.
Yes, I agree with you. So I think that.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that, but I mean,
What's that?
I think we have the ability to discuss those lots, the size of them, and whether there's a covenant in the purchase of that lot that says it can't be divided. That's all. I mean, it's a good question. It's a question for SPDMC. I don't want to run aground on it.
Yep.
But we need to get somebody that really knows to.
And then that's a common
at
note
that.
to add, you know, especially for lots of those size that are, you know, twice
Yeah.
as big as what they are now to, you know, can't be further subdivided without planning board approval or something along those lines.
Then it is incumbent on future planning board.
I think I had to come in front of the planning board for a lot I bought for the same issue.
How was it?
It was good. It was 10 years ago. 12
That's before we were here.
I've been here for almost 10 years.
Wash your hands of that one.
Yeah, I've been here for almost 10. Anything else? Anybody? At this point in time, I do think we are going to take advantage of having a Southern Maine Planning and getting their opinion. So we would not be finding.
we owe it to the people.
Yeah, we would not be going through and doing conditions of approval yet.
Sure.
I think that maybe the next step would be getting that report back from Southern Maine Planning. And then obviously you would be getting a copy of that. And then we would come back in for another discussion.
Do you know who will be doing that review with SMPDC?
I sent it to Malia, Malia. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry.
thought it was
Terrible.
Malaya.
No, and ultimately,
I'm horrible.
I
I'm
could, I
ridiculous.
just was, if I had a name, I could reach out, introduce myself.
Yeah, that
Offer to
that would be
share
great.
whatever
I'll,
information, that kind of thing.
What I can do is I can
Ashley has my email, so she knows where to
perfect.
find me.
Will you just introduce? I don't know if she's going to be doing the review, but she'll know who there is going to be
Exactly.
doing the review.
I just didn't want to.
Yeah, and she may work, her work
Yeah.
might, she's worked with us on ordinance updates. And I think she did something with the select board or the town manager recently. She came in and did maybe a presentation or something. It was not planning board related. So I wasn't involved, but, and she's also who we will work with for ordinance changes. So she may not be the person who's going to do the review. It may be, what is that guy's name?
Used to be David Galbraith.
Yeah,
He
no,
is
I don't think,
fantastic.
yeah, he's good.
I know you guys have probably never seen the SMPDC review before, but it's
really-
phenomenal.
they're
It's
very
a
I was here.
great-
I was here for the first, like my first meeting. I think we had them here.
So when they send over a report, it goes through every step. It gives suggestions about, hey, you guys should probably touch on this, or don't worry about this part. Their review, they're fantastic. It's a great guideline of don't miss this, but pay attention to this stuff. And obviously, double checking our top of that. It's I don't want to say priceless, but it's worth its weight in gold.
We used to send something like this, we'd send to another
Yeah.
engineering firm.
Yep.
We used to use Dwight Anderson. I don't know who he used to work for, but whatever. And send a thing in, he'd come back, make a report, and all would be good. I have nothing more.
Have we heard back from the fire? Have we heard back from the fire chief directly? I think we all just know what the fire chief is going to say. So, so we did send out to fire chief,
You do the
road commissioner. We did hear back from the road commissioner, and he recommended Southern Maine Planning's input on the road issues. I believe we also sent to superintendent of the schools, which I'm not sure right now we actually technically have one of those, or we have one that's leaving, and I don't know if a new one's been hired.
We have an office of a superintendent that can handle it.
Yep, fantastic. And then we also, we obviously have Conservation Committee, although I'm not sure that this really has much Conservation Committee impact. And it's gone to our own select board. I haven't heard anything back from select board, and of course, code enforcement. And I haven't seen anything back directly from code enforcement. Are there any other town areas of the town that we want to get feedback from, or professionals? Another type of professional that I haven't thought of that we may want to get feedback from.
I think we should have an independent firm monitor the development.
What is
As far
that?
as the road.
What type of firm?
Help me out here, Greg.
Civil engineer?
Yeah. Someone to verify that the road is built in accordance with what the requirements are for that road.
BH2M most likely would be that firm.
True.
So there would be a third-party inspector being BH2M.
Right. I wouldn't call it a third-party inspector.
They don't have any financial gain from this project other than being hired by the applicant,
Oh, fine.
unless you are part of the trust that we are not aware of.
I am not aware of any.
I'm not saying anything about anybody's integrity. All I was saying is we ought to have somebody make sure it's built like it's designed.
For accountability.
It is our standard practice to allow the design engineer to be the inspecting engineer as well.
All right.
That is my opinion as well.
We do have, so we are not
Is there,
in.
I had one question to
Yeah, of
answer,
course, go ahead.
because you asked if we should ask anybody else. So one of the citizens brought up a question about the ability of the land as a whole to support 14 wells or, is there a hydrologist report? And I apologize, I'm not digging through.
We have not.
looking for
Typically,
it.
the hydrogeologist would look at the nitrates from the septic fields and where our density is much less than what the threshold was in your ordinance for doing that. We haven't done that yet. I know in my experience, whether it's 14 or 18 lots on 50-some acres, typically, in looking at well assessments and the amount of groundwater that would drain down in through the soil and the percentage that goes, from the soil down into the bedrock aquifer that the drilled wells would go into, even if it was, say, 20 lots on almost 60 acres would, more water would infiltrate down in than would be consumed by, a typical 3 to 4 bedroom house. So, I mean, I could, if the board wanted, I could see what our hydrogeologists we do tend to use.
Yeah, I'm not a
could do,
hydrogeologist,
but
so I'm not saying you're wrong.
I don't
or
think,
you're right. I don't know.
I did one in a different town that was much closer to 1 acre per lot, and it had adequate infiltration to recharge the aquifer based on the withdrawal. So I would be very surprised if, a similar assessment didn't come back that it would be okay in this situation.
I would be a lot more concerned if this was a cluster subdivision, which we no longer allow, unfortunately. And then I would be more concerned with the nitrate blooms from those septic fields when they're in a such dense area. But since this is in a 2-acre zone, and these are 2-acre plus lots, that the zoning was created with that in mind, that these lot sizes could support a house with a well and a septic. If this was 10 lots that were just happened to be for sale, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
And we do have a certified soil scientist evaluation indicating that, in his opinion, we do have enough space for disposal bed on each proposed lot.
Right.
Mark Anthony, those are 2 test pits that are done per lot.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So there's 2 locations that are suitable for the septic. I think the question is more of the well.
The wells. Yep.
But
I think we have
and
a water
one thing
flow.
that we can show on a plan is where we would have a potential potential septic system based on one of these test pits, and then the 100-foot setback off of that to show a well location or a potential well location within the lots.
it may be helpful if you did, for both test pits with a 100-foot radius, to have well exclusion zones just for visual.
Yeah.
Because the last time we did nitrate bloom stuff, septic was on a
Cluster subdivision.
and it was in a
Right.
steep hill. So everything flowed downhill, and we made sure that they were notated on everything. So it mattered very immensely because it was literally, the whole subdivision just went up a hill. Everything flowed downhill. So we had made them put everything on the map, everything on the plan, so that we knew that septic wasn't flowing downhill towards 2 neighbors down to there.
That guy's well.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, I don't know that it's as important because it's mostly flat. And they're kind of,
Did we have a letter that states that there should be enough water for this? I don't know quite how I want to say it, but they could drill 14 wells a year, and they'll all be adequate, and they'll all...
We don't have that letter. We have
I think
people saying that it should be fine.
we have
but
a,
we don't.
yeah, we have
there's
letter
a
from the
main
Welsh-
water wells exhibit. I'm not sure. What
Right, we provided the data from the state of Maine on what wells are.
Right, in the area and what they do.
The yield, depth,
Right,
all of
okay.
that
So, I
with
mean,
the wells in the area.
It
So-
shows that there should be enough support.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, that is,
I thought I had read something, I just wasn't sure.
I believe, not storm, hold on, storm. So it's right before stormwater management report.
Attachment
Main
9.
water wells, it's like a little map, and it shows, looks like this. And it shows the anticipated, sorry, it shows the well yield in, gosh, there must probably be like 20 different locations in the general area, and shows the well yield, which is gallons per minute. And it looks to me like, I mean, the problem here is that I don't know what like a standard gallons per minute is, so it looks great and it's colorful.
Well, when you
but-
asked if we get some other reports, that
Yep.
I don't know how to read that.
Greg, do you have any thoughts on that?
It looked adequate. I am not a hydrogeologist.
We rely on the hydrogeologists to give us their opinion, and if the hydrogeologist says that there's enough water, there's only so much we can do without hiring another hydrogeologist for.
And we run it.
All right. Any other thoughts? So we are taking no vote, no action, but to wait for Southern Maine Planning's review and report, which we will make sure to get to you. We will, I'll have Ashley reach out and get you connected with whomever at Southern Maine Planning that will be doing that report. And I think we're good on this topic. Yes? Good?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
will-
So shifting gears, we, and I literally have so much paper in front of me. I don't know what to do with myself right now. That was handling old business. We do have, we have a last minute request from a resident to come in and talk to us a little bit about a potential conditional use. So I welcome you now to come on up. Thank you for your patience. We really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind just stating your name and where your property is located. And,
Yeah. My name's Micah Proper, and yeah, sure.
Can we put a time? I don't mean
Yeah.
to be rude, but can we put
Yeah.
a time that we are running 8:30?
Yep.
We do have to play. We do have a couple of items after this.
Yep.
I have a hard 9 o'clock
I
stop.
know. I have a hard
Yeah,
time.
I can keep this quick.
Yeah, no,
I know
thank
it's
you.
getting late.
This is really,
No,
I think, an
I
issue.
appreciate a little bit of
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
10
yeah.
minutes would be.
Yeah, so some of you know me. My name's Micah Proper. I've lived in Hollis pretty much my whole life. My wife and I own 3 properties in Hollis. One of them I want to talk to you in particular about. It's a 7-acre property. It's in a 3-acre zone. This property has like 1,200 feet of road frontage, and at the back of the property, there's a pond. It's got its own driveway. It's got its own well. It's got a power pole. It's a really nice spot. We don't want to sell it because we hope someday one of our daughters will want to build a house out there and be 5 minutes from us. But we want to do something with it because it's all overgrown, and we've had a couple people dumping trash and demo in there twice in the last year. So I was talking with Dwayne about trying to get approved for a single campsite, short-term campsite rental. So basically what this would be somebody would bring their own camper in. They could hook up to utilities there. They could have the privacy of that whole area with the pond. They could do day trips to Portland, Cape Elizabeth, Old Orchard Beach, Kennebunk, and they wouldn't have to deal with like the chaos of a normal campground. Some people are looking for that. I think there's a lot of good memories that could be created there, a lot of good times. It could work out really well for a lot of people and be a good opportunity for a lot of people to camp. Dwayne did mention to me that this would require a conditional use permit. So that's kind of why I'm here. I just wanted to tell you what we were trying to do, what we were looking to do, and just, bring it to your attention so you knew, basically, I could explain it to you. So when you see it come across your desk, you'd know what it was about. Yeah.
Thank you for coming out. You
Yeah.
sat through a lengthy meeting.
No, we learned a lot tonight.
to
So
share
yeah,
it
it was like a
with
free
us.
class on subdivision. So
Yeah, it is. Subdivisions
Yeah.
are fascinating planning, fascinating ways to build. But
Yeah.
thank you for coming out. I think that Dwayne is right. We would need to go through a formal conditional use application, which you can find right on our website. I think it's
Okay,
like a
yeah.
2 or 3 page application.
All right.
One of the things that we have found when we are looking at conditional use is it's very helpful for us if an applicant comes to us and can describe to us what use on the use table, which you can find on our website, what use you think that this falls into. So, camping, right? So the first thing that comes to mind is campground. Campgrounds have to have at least two sites. I looked it up today, actually.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's the town's
What
definition.
did you just say? I'm sorry.
The definition of a campground in the town has two. Our definition has 2 campsites.
Okay.
This
yeah.
one does not. So I'm not sure that campground is the right use that we would want to be looking at. I'm wondering if perhaps rooming houses might be a use that this would actually kind of fit into, because it's an area of your property. Like this is this your primary, is your home located on this parcel as well?
It's not on this parcel, no.
Okay, so is there
We're
any,
on
so it's not a
California
home
Road.
occupation?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
I got nothing.
I also think that there is a chance that perhaps definition of bed and breakfast might qualify. I will say that I believe that at our election coming up in a couple of weeks, June 9th, if I'm not mistaken, we do have an election coming up. There are some revisions to the zoning ordinances that have been proposed that do a better job of bucketing some of those uses like rooming and bed and breakfast, bucketing them a little bit differently and expanding some uses.
Yeah.
I understand that for this piece of property, it is in the RR3 zone.
It is, yeah.
I did notice that rooming houses and bed and breakfast are allowed there without conditional use approval. So I did go back to code enforcement and ask if he had looked at those 2 uses, because I think that the denial came based on a campground.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And campground use is, there are a lot of things that go along with being a use as a campground. There's a lot of requirements that go along with that.
Yeah,
So with it not being 2 sites that you're looking to do, but just one, I'm not sure that that would really be a good fit anyway.
Yeah.
Would you allow more than one group stay there at a time?
So that's kind of like the thing with this is it's unique because it's private. It's like they got the whole spot to themselves, and I think that's what would make it appealing to people. But I mean, we could do a 2-site spot there if that,
So
and then maybe rent.
the
or,
definition of campground, which would be conditional in the zone, correct?
Conditional, yep.
Any premise area of tractor or land, blah, blah, to accommodate 2 or more parties in temporary living quarters, including but not limited to tents and RVs. So if there's 2 sites, it would fall under campgrounds, and it would be.
Doesn't mean you have to rent them both at the same time.
It's true.
Doesn't say you have to do that.
Right, and we definitely have room to put 2. And
Well, and I would look at the performance standards for, I think it's the performance standards for campgrounds. Because
6.29
Yep.
is the
acres.
No,
No,
6.29 is the part of the ordinance that
6.29 or 6.26?
depends on which version you're looking at.
There's a laundry list of stuff.
There
So-
are some expectations about availability of trash removal, and I think sanitary. So just if you,
Yeah.
take a look at those and
Okay, yeah.
see if
And part of our application included a septic system for all this, for
I did see
sanitary
that.
and all that.
Yep, I
Yeah.
did see that.
Yep.
So, maybe, if you wanted to be a campground owner, here's your chance.
Yeah, if
I
that's
wonder
what we
if-
have to
I
call
wonder
it,
if
then,
it-
yeah,
There you go.
that would.
I wonder if at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point we need to look at what other towns are doing with hip camps.
With what?
Hip camps?
What's a hip camp?
A hip camp. I mean, that's become popular the last 5, maybe longer, 7 years. And a hip camp is where you own 10 acres or you own an orchard or you own a little farm and you've got some waterfront on the Saco River and you
Sounds
can
like
post it
somebody-
on the internet
And you
through the hip camp app and people can come and stay on your land.
Sounds
It's
like
not
an
a true-
Airbnb
it's
for camping.
For money or for
Yeah,
free?
no, it's for money.
So you're running a
It's an
campground.
Airbnb, but for camping.
Yeah, campsites.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's really popular in the United States. I mean, it's not a one-off. It's,
Yeah,
you know, maybe
and
we
that's
need to take a look at it and decide how would we approach that instead of having everybody make a dedicated campground.
So maybe
That's a future thing for us. That's not going to get you out of jail. But it's
Well,
something
Brett,
that
it
we
sounds
could.
to me like you're the right person to get this
All
get
right.
this idea started.
I like it.
Recreational facility might also loosely work.
You think so? I'd have to take a look. I just that was off the top of my head. I was thinking of those two potential.
There are potentials that may work.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
There
good
are
to know.
potentials
Yeah.
for the zone that you're located in.
Great, yeah, yeah. it's
I mean,
good to
I know personally, I would love to go camping in an area that was, we were the only ones there.
And,
I mean, it
and you
might be a
didn't
little
have
bit
to drive more than 10 minutes. You forgot something, you go home and get it. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, right around the corner.
The dog runs home, you know where he went.
Yeah,
The definition of recreational facility is a place indoors or outdoors designed and equipped for conduct of sports, leisure time activities, and other customary and unusual recreational activities,
Do you have the
excluding boat launching facilities and amusement.
Do you have the old one or the new one? I have the premises and/or structures designed and equipped for the conduct of sports, leisure, and other customary and usual recreational activities.
Those are proposed. I have the
Right. So he's got like a week before get voted.
Well,
So
yeah,
if they get approved.
So that's the other
that's
thing
your
is that
definition.
we do have potential zoning ordinance changes that are going to be voted on in the next 2 weeks.
On the 9th.
On the 9th. Those are also available. Those changes, you can see those on our website. So
Right, yeah,
I'm
we'll
not
take a
sure
look at
which
that,
one
yeah.
of those might fit better.
There's one more minute,
but
too.
we encourage everyone to get out and vote. We encourage everyone to get out and take a look at the proposed changes. Those are changes that our planning board worked on for a number of years now, led by our former leader. No, you just started the ball rolling, Paul. That's what it was. Paul started the ball rolling. But we are, with the effort on our part was to kind of clean up our ordinances a little bit, make it a little bit easier to understand whether or not what you're proposing would fit into a definition that looked like a certain way. Yes, sir.
And then there's provisions in the proposed stuff that give the planning board the ability to review stuff on a case-by-case basis to try to find something that it fits as long as it's not way out there. And
Okay, yeah.
ridiculous. So
Yeah, sure.
Where
All right, yeah.
hip camp, Airbnb,
Yeah.
that type of stuff doesn't exist in our ordinances and definitions right
Doesn't
now.
exist in our verbiage.
It doesn't mean that it's, no longer off the table. You
That's
can
being
Right,
voted
yeah.
on next month.
let's be very clear. That's being
Okay.
voted on next month.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
That's in
So
line.
I encourage you
Great.
to go and grab a conditional use application
Okay,
and
yeah.
and then get it, fill it in and file it with Ashley. Conditional use, we don't require. I don't think we require engineering plans, do we? We just, we've taken.
Was it square
taken
footage
hand-
has to be
yeah.
determined?
I mean, especially this. I think you guys already have a septic design.
We will get one. Yeah.
yeah,
If we can figure something out,
Yeah.
then yeah, we'll have a professional engineer, septic design, and make sure we meet all the setbacks from the water and all that stuff.
Good, because nobody wants to dig holes and poop in those.
No. No.
And on that
Unless
note.
you're at hip camp.
Do you have any? Do you have any questions for us on this?
No, I don't. No, I've held you guys up long enough. Yeah.
You can tell we're getting, 9 o'clock is a definite hard end for us because I know I get super punchy. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming
thank
out.
you.
We
Yeah,
really
thank you for
appreciate
your
it.
time. I
Look
appreciate
forward
it.
to hearing more
Yeah,
from
thank
you. We did already do a public comment, but I will open this up for public comment one more time if anyone has anything they would like to share. right, and then plan for our next meeting. So next meeting is June 10th. I hope that we would have Southern Maine Planning's report back by then. But I do not know that for sure. I think maybe we can check with them and maybe get an ETA from them on timing. And we will know by the 10th.
Is it possible to get them to come down?
Yeah, yeah.
And then we
ask them
can,
to come down.
and then we
don't
can
know if
read their
they're
notes
available.
and ask questions.
Cost us a bunch more money to
Does
does.
cost much minimum.
It
So
does
they can
cost-
zoom in for like half the price. of what
Oh,
it
well,
costs.
then zoom in, but I mean somewhere where we've got a give and a take.
So let's connect with the applicant and, well, let's connect with
Yeah.
Southern Maine Planning. Oh, yes,
Public
sir.
comment?
Yes, please come on up to the mic, sir.
Please step up to the lectern.
The lectern.
Not the podium.
Come up with a chunk of wood here. Do not be dissuaded by cost. Please don't let that enter into it. The applicant is responsible for legal fees to investigate. They're responsible for paying planning fees. All of that, account for the time, bill the applicant. Please use all of the professional tools available. Don't let cost be a limitation.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we didn't catch your name. So I think, let's find out if Southern Maine Planning can get a report back to us. I know that they are quite busy this time of year. It may be that it takes them a little bit longer. This is a big subdivision and I want them to be thorough. I think that's more important to me than rushing through it. Although we do have some time constraints on our timing of getting preliminary plan, we can work with the applicant. You know, if we don't get it done in the time frame, the answer is no. So they have an incentive for saying it's okay for us to take a little bit longer. And then we'll ensure that the applicant can be here so that we have applicant and Southern Maine Planning at the same. That will also allow us hopefully time to get the attorney to review or discuss with the property owner, the trust. I don't know what that will uncover or not uncover.
That's why we do it.
Yeah, and then I think we kind of, we'll tentatively plan that we'll have that applicant back on the 10th. We will also at that point know whether or not the zoning ordinance changes that we proposed and the planning board ordinance changes that would take us from a 7-member to a 5-member board. Those are also up for vote right now. So we've got a couple things in the works, and that's all I have. Does anyone have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
What's that? One moment, please. Hold. Oh, you seconded it. How does everyone vote?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We
Thank
are
you. Yes.
adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with us.